Let's welcome one of our own, Dr. Wes Hickey.
Thank you, Mr. Griffon. So I understand that the theme here tonight is to picture your future. However, had you asked me 16 years ago when I was entering Friendswood High School, the picture of my future would involve me standing before you here today, I certainly would not have believed you. And in fact, I know many of the teachers and faculty in this room, had you asked them, they would have found it even more unbelievable. You know, I remember how I pictured myself entering Klein Primary here in Friendswood. Because then, if I could only be wearing my He-Man underwear, then I knew it was going to be a good day. When I went into Westwood, it was just a picture of myself being cool because I was starting to learn what that meant. And at junior high, I just wanted to be funny. By the time I got to high school, I just wanted a picture of myself in my varsity leather jacket and a fighting Mustangs uniform. Yet I stand here tonight, thankful, grateful, and deeply appreciative for the experiences in my life that have made me who I am. As I reflect back on them, and it is clear that they started in the halls of Friendswood High School. So to you students who have made it here tonight, congratulations. You are being honored because you have proven yourself exceptional. Yet I would say to you tonight that the prestigious Friendswood High School Academic Banquet is not the prize. Being honored by your mayor and the leaders in your community is not the prize. Your GPA and your class rank, those are not the prize. The prize will be taking the opportunities that you have been given and applying them to affect change in your world. The prize will be taking your leadership training. It will be taking what these teachers have taught you and using it to leave this world a better place than it was when you came into it. And the benefits that you will reap if you become men and women of character, that, my friends, will be the prize. And so I ask you tonight, who are you? Are you a person of character? And you have all been invited a place at this table because on some level you have risen above the standard. And I've been told that you are men and women of young academic excellence and character. But my friends, character is not a sometime thing. It is an all-the-time thing. It is not something you do like make an A on a test or win a UIL medal, but it is something that you are. And it is who you are, not what you do, that will make you great in this world. I mean, we need only to turn on the news to see people who have done great things, but yet they have no character. This morning, Arnold Schwarzenegger in a 10-year affair with one of his staffers. The movie stars who overdosed on drugs. The football players who brutally attacked their wives. From Lindsay Lohan's losing to Charlie Sheen winning. These people have done great things by today's standards. Yet they have no character. Character is an inside job. So as I look out across this room at a generation that I would like to think I am still very close to an age, although my receding hairline would argue with me otherwise, I have just a few bits of advice that I would like to give you tonight. First, choose wisely. You guys need to realize and understand that the choices and decisions that you are making today, even today, whether you are a freshman or you are a senior, these choices and decisions are going to have an indelible impact on your life, on your career, and on your family. It may not seem like it. And some of these choices may seem small, but don't you ever underestimate their impact. You know, coming into high school, I did what I'm sure many of you have done. I loosely chose my electives. My goals were simple. Minimize the effort and maximize the fun. That was it. And what better way to do that, quite honestly, than to pick a drama elective. But you know what I didn't realize then? Is that a seemingly frivolous would go on to not only shape the next 4 years of my life, but the rest of my life. So that by the time I was a senior, I was afforded the opportunity to play one of the leads in our one-act play, the role of Dr. Frederick Trees in The Elephant Man. It is the story of one physician and his journey to cure a disease which there was no cure and to save a patient which he could not save, and how that single patient would change his life forever. That single role would change my life forever. But I certainly didn't realize it at the time. We competed with that play, and when we were cut at regionals, the point before state, I was devastated. I mean, I had wanted to win so badly. The competition was my whole world back then, and this was my life. But now I thought that it was over. It's done. Turn the page. Next chapter. It wasn't until 6 years later, when I was in medical school, as a third-year medical student, when I walked into my first patient's room at LBJ Hospital. It wasn't until then that I would begin to grasp the impact that Kathy Powdrell had had on my life. I stood there at the bedside of a woman who was writhing in tears from her abdominal pain, and you know what? I couldn't think of all the anatomy textbooks and the human physiology lectures and the biochemistry videos we had to watch for years. All I could think about was my role as Dr. Frederick Trees. All I could think about was what would he say to her? And how would he comfort her? How would he approach this situation? You see all the lights and makeup, and scripts, and curtains, competitions, a one-act play. In reality, it was just a dress rehearsal for the picture of my future life. Miss Powdrell had taught me well. She had given me the role of physician to play, and through that, taught me more about being a compassionate physician than I ever could have learned in my medical textbooks. And you know what gets me the most? Is that she probably has no idea. She has no idea that outside of my parents, she has been the single most influential person in my life. I am a different person today. I am a better person today. I am a better physician today because of her. And because of a seemingly frivolous decision that I made to take a drama class. This is true. In the years since I have graduated, starting with my freshman year at Baylor, every single year I have sat down and started to write Kathy Powdrell a letter. A letter that would thank her for taking her chances on a jock that would cut his hair way too short for theater. A letter that would let her know that she's appreciated far, far more than she will ever know. Words have always failed me, and I've never sent that letter. And so now, while we may not have a trophy in our trophy case that year from State 1 Act, the lessons that she taught me and the experiences that she gave me have a far greater value. Friends, everyone in this room has a Kathy Powdrell in their life. Don't you dare graduate this high school without you letting them know what they mean to you. You do not yet know what impact the choices that you are making and the choices that you have already made will have on your life. Even today, even in high school. Choices that build the framework of our lives, so choose wisely. My next thought for each of you is to not wish this time away, waiting for the next big thing, the next big event in life. And don't always be looking for the easy way out and the shortcuts. Friendswood High School has the great potential to build your character, create your vision, and to set you on the path to achieve your goals. Don't you dare join the if-only generation and watch it all idly slide by. Well, we've all been there because I know I have. My freshman year at Friendswood High School, I'll never forget calling my mother and pleading with her to please call the attendance office and let them know that I had a doctor's appointment that afternoon because there just so happened to be a big test that I had forgotten to study for. Now, don't judge me because I know a lot of you have been there. But I felt that my argument was based on very sound reason. I said, Mother, surely you understand how important my GPA is. And if I take this test, I will fail this test. I'll fail the class, I'll ruin my GPA, I'm not going to get into college, I'm living with you the rest of my life, and that will not make me proud. You know, funny I didn't hear her answer, but I hung up the phone quite confident that with an argument so convincing, she would surely come to save me from this evil plot to destroy my GPA. So I went about the morning, but as the lunch rolled around, she hadn't called, and I began to get a bit worried. So I made another phone call, just to remind her. The time was ticking, and I did not yet have my get-out-of-jail-free card. When I spoke to her on the phone, she told me that she had in fact not called the attendance office, but instead had spent that time praying that I would be able to do my best on that test. Not at all what I wanted to hear. So I took that test, and I failed miserably. But I ended up okay in the class. My GPA was fine. Got into where I wanted to go for college. I guess it ended up all right. You know, some of us tend to learn responsibility the hard way in life. And that day, it was my mother's character that toed the line, not mine. Friends, taking shortcuts cuts us short. It's very easy to justify taking the easy way out. The problem with shortcuts, however, is they lead to a very dangerous condition: complacency. When you graduate this high school, character will be the single most valuable asset that you can have, and complacency will be the single most dangerous. Complacency is a disease that is infecting my generation and yours. I know, because I have seen it in my classmates and in my friends. We've become a generation that is happy with good enough and satisfied with the status quo. You know, in medicine, like in everything in life, there are always shortcuts that can be taken. You can choose to clock in, check your labs, do your exams, write your prescriptions, and at the end of that week, you will collect your check, and you can call yourself a physician. But I will submit to you this evening that my vocation and yours, no matter what you may choose it to be, has a much deeper calling. That means that for those of you in this room who will one day be lawyers, that you do not exist to simply argue a side and debate a point, but that you are arbiters of truth, so that the judge and the jury get to see what character looks like when character tries a case. And of those of you in this room who will one day be businessmen and businesswomen, that you do not exist to simply market your product and sell your service, but that you are known far and wide as a person who can be taken at their word, so that the public gets to see what character looks like when character opens their doors for a day of business. And of those of you in this room who will be teachers, that at the end of the day, you are not just someone who is grading papers or regurgitating facts, but you are educators, so that your students, peers, and parents get to see what character looks like when character stands up in front of a class to lead, so that no matter what path you may choose to take in life, no matter how large an estate you may amass, you know that you will leave this world with only one thing: your name. So you decide now to make it a good one, because eternity is a long, long time. Nearly 40 years ago, I was fresh out of medical school. The MD was still freshly stitched on my coat when I was given a task that absolutely terrified me. I had to tell an otherwise healthy young woman that she had cancer. And not only did she have cancer, but that she actually only had weeks left to live. You know, they try and prepare you for things like that in medical school. You'll role play They teach you what words to say and what words to avoid and how to use your body language to convey a sense of empathy. But I had so many questions. Do I hold her hand? Do I sit on the bed? What do I say to her? Do I just come out and blurt it out, or should I be more subtle? Or should I even try and sugarcoat this? What if she gets angry? Or upset? Or angry with me? And so I sat at the nurse's station on her floor and rehearsed in my mind over and over how this scenario was supposed to play out and how I had wanted it to unfold. I made my way down the hall, stopped briefly outside the door to compose myself, knocked gently, and I let myself in. And that was a picture that I will never forget. She had just finished her scrambled eggs and her hash browns and was settling into a riveting game of Plinko on The Price is Right. And as I made my way across the room, she laid forth to me a very clear but not so concise argument on how Drew Carey would never be able to replace Bob Barker, no matter how hard that smug little man would try. I flipped off the TV and sat down on her bed as she pushed her TV tray aside. But before I could get up a word to speak, she spoke first to thank me. To thank me for the wonderful care that she had received at Methodist Hospital and to let me know that she was feeling 100% better. And if she could just impose, she only had one request of me that day. Could she somehow manage to be discharged before lunch? Because there's a lot of traffic on I-10 and the last thing she wanted to do was fight traffic going home that day. Not going according to my plan. Well, over the course of the next few minutes, I managed to tell her that not only would she not be going home that day, but that she had cancer. And she had only weeks left to live. You know, for as long as I live in my life, I will never forget the look in her eyes. It wasn't one of fear or of anger, of sadness, or of worry or of dread. It was just emptiness. It was as if the life had just been sucked right out of her. And she just stared at it. Empty. Her only reply to me was, okay. Here was a woman who minutes ago, her biggest worry in the world was who was making it into the showcase showdown on The Price is Right, and now her days left on this earth could be numbered on a single page of the calendar. So I sat there for a few minutes, not entirely sure how to end that one-sided conversation. I got up and I let myself out the door. And as the door closed behind me, I remember letting out a huge sigh because I had done it. I had explained the diagnosis, the prognosis, the treatment. I had been honest, forthright, and accurate. And for the next minute, I sat there and I patted myself on the back for a job well done. But it was about that time that I began to hear the sobs coming through on the other side of the door. Where do I go from here? I had completed my task. I had done what was asked of me. I had finished my duties. What else could they want? But instead of turning and walking down that hall, I went back inside that room. I sat down next to her on the bed. I put my arm around her, and I just hugged her. For 10 minutes, I didn't let up, and the only sound in that room was the sound of her weeping. My friend's character is not a summation of the decisions that you make when people are looking. It is a product of the decisions that you make when they aren't. So can your friends see your character? How about the guys and girls on your team? Can they see it? How about the people at your table tonight? Have they seen your character? What about your college roommate? Are they going to see it? And what about the people that you choose to make a difference in your life? Are you going to make a difference in theirs? You know, behind every avalanche is a snowflake. A rock slide begins with a single pebble. It's true. History has proved it all the way back to one of the most classic stories in the Old Testament. You all know the one, where God comes down and tells Abraham, he says, hey, you know those two cities of Sodom and Gomorrah? Well, they're full of so much wickedness and evil that I'm just going to destroy them both. And Abraham, who was worried about his nephew Lot and his family that lived there, said, well, wait a second, God. I got a problem here. You're supposed to be the God of good. And so if you destroy these two cities, you're not only going to destroy all the wickedness and evil, but you're also going to destroy the righteous people as well. So let's make a deal, God. If I can go down in those cities, if I can find you 10, just 10 righteous people, will you save all of the cities for the sake of those 10 people that have character? And God said, okay, Abe, you got yourself a deal. But as Abraham went out in search of 10 people of character, he learned that they could not be found. So that evening, Lot and his family were allowed to escape in the darkness of the night. And the next morning, God rained down fire and brimstone on those two cities, utterly decimated them on the plain of Jordan. So why? Why was Sodom and Gomorrah destroyed? Well, it was not destroyed because of all the wickedness and evil. It wasn't destroyed because that's where all the bad guys lived. It was destroyed because 10 righteous people could not be found. It was destroyed because Lot's family, the 5 people with character, had not done their job. And in not doing their own job, they couldn't even protect the neighborhood. And in not protecting the neighborhood, they couldn't even protect their family. And if those 5 people had influenced one, just one other human being, then that would have been enough to save over 500,000 men, women, and children. Students, I submit to you this evening that if you believe that there is deterioration in our schools, in our culture, in our society, it's not just because there's bad guys out there being bad. That's what they're supposed to be, bad. It is part of their job description. But our schools and our culture deteriorating because the good guys look so much like the bad guys. Because too many times, you and I don't step up to the line and say, that's wrong, guys, we're not going this way. And because too many times you and I don't step up to the line and say, this is right and this is how it's going to be. And so the question is, why are you here tonight? Why has your school, your families, and your city chosen to honor you? It is because your mothers and your fathers and your teachers and your educators understand the value of the mind that you have been given, the responsibility that comes with it, and the power it possesses when it acts with character. Friends, and in particular you seniors, very soon you will be given some of that freedom that I know you have so long desired. You will step out from underneath your parents' wing, and the accountability for your choices and your decisions will fall solely on you. Don't you ever underestimate the power of a right decision in a difficult situation, because it is those decisions that will define you. And don't you ever take for granted the investments that the people in this room have made in your life, because it is their lessons that will lead you. And don't you ever, ever be satisfied with good enough, because it is only your own potential that you are stifling. Let me close with a true story. The year was 1968. And the place was Olympic Stadium, Mexico City. The events of the day were long over, and the television crewmen and cameramen began to clean up, when at the far end of the stadium, a man was seen entering at a slow jog with a limp. As he drew near, he was identified as a marathon runner from Tanzania that had taken a nasty fall earlier in the day. As he got closer, they could see that the gauze that was wrapped around his leg had become saturated red with his blood. And as he crossed the finish line, his body felt limp from sheer exhaustion. One of the television crewmen made his way to him and put a microphone in his face and asked him, he said, "Sir, why did you insist on finishing? You were badly injured. You had to have known that there was no chance of you even coming close to placing." And the runner looked up at the man, and he said, "It's because my country did not send me 9,000 miles to start a race. They sent me to finish one." Friends, that is the kind of character that this world is so desperate for. That is the kind of character that will build our great nation. So character. Pray for it. Search for it. And once you've found it, you hold on tight to it. Because you got a big job coming your way. But the way I see it, you guys will be ready. God bless.